So thanks so much for doing this evening with me, Peter. For anyone who's watching who doesn't know who Peter Tatchell is, he's a well-known human rights activist. And you agreed to come on and talk about post-traumatic stress, didn't you? Something I have as well, so we've got that in common. When and how did you get PTSD, Peter?
Well, the first thing to say is that I've been campaigning for human rights for over 57 years.
Yeah,
In the course of that time, I've been involved in more than 3,000 protests. I've been arrested or detained by the police more than 100 times,
yeah.
sometimes quite violently. And on top of that, I've been subjected to more than 300 violent assaults,
Wow.
including 50 attacks upon my flat, such as bottles and bricks through the windows, three arson attempts, and a bullet through my front door. Now, these have been mostly by far-right extremists who've targeted me because of my support for LGBT plus rights and other human rights. They reject and oppose my stand against racism and xenophobia.
Yeah,
They oppose my support for the LGBT plus community. They oppose other causes that I've espoused. So I began to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder way back in the 1980s at the
yeah,
height of these attacks. Um, I didn't realize what it was at the time, but eventually, because it was affecting me not only mentally, but also physically, my physical health was declining. I sought out medical help through the NHS and was assigned to a psychologist and counselor who said that I was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder
yeah,
on the basis that I had extreme anxiety.
yeah,
Whenever I went out of my house, I was always looking over my shoulder, fearful of another attack. At night, I had repeated night terrors where I'd jump out of the bed, reliving an attack with my heart almost bursting out of my chest. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought I was going to die.
yeah,
Um, but the doctors said that actually what I was suffering from was not post-traumatic stress disorder, but actually ongoing traumatic stress disorder, because I hadn't been subjected to one or two attacks, but dozens, and by that stage, hundreds of
yeah,
violent assaults.
yeah,
So, I mean, I was asked, what is your coping mechanism?
yeah,
And my coping mechanism was to pause and acknowledge what had happened, and sometimes have a good cry.
yeah,
Um, talk to about it with close friends to share the story, and then sort of banish it from my mind.
yeah,
Um, and that strategy was so effective. I remember one time I was meeting with some friends, a group of friends, and one said to me, "Oh, when did you last have an attack? When have you last been assaulted?" And I said, "Oh, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago." And the person standing next to me said, "Hang on, you told me you'd actually just been attacked 3 days ago."
yeah, yeah,
And I said, "I completely forgotten about it. I'd erased it from my memory. I had been attacked 3 days ago, but I completely erased it from my memory until I was reminded of it." Um, Now, the psychiatric people said that's a very unorthodox coping mechanism, but it seemed to work for me because if I dwelt upon what had happened to me, um, they said I would have had a mental breakdown or even ended up committing suicide. And there were times, to be honest, when I did feel semi-suicidal. There were times when I had, very severe depression, very, very bleak, fearful outlook. But I just kept on, using the strategy of blocking out the memory. And,
yeah,
and of course, also trying to put things in perspective. So I would often say to myself, well, this is terrible. But if I was in Saudi Arabia, Iran, Russia, or China, I'd be in prison. I'd probably be tortured.
yeah,
I might even face execution.
yeah,
So I put it in perspective and said, look, there's other human rights defenders in these other countries who are suffering far worse than I am. So just, pull yourself together and carry on.
yeah,
Plus, of course, the other mechanism of coping was to um, put it in the sense of I knew there was important work I had to do. So apart from the campaigns and the protests, also I've been helping over the years thousands and thousands of people, refugees fleeing persecution, victims of police malpractice and miscarriages of justice, victims of hate crime, discrimination, and harassment. And I knew that I had to carry on and support those people. So
Yeah.
that's what gave me the inner strength to carry on, to keep going. So, I could have easily sort of given up, but I didn't want to. I was very stubborn.
Yeah.
I didn't want to let the bigots defeat me. I thought, they want me to give up. They're doing this to try and drive me out. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction. So I
Yeah.
just stuck at it and kept pushing, kept campaigning, kept helping individual people who came to me for assistance.
Yeah.
That satisfaction of doing that helped see me through that crisis period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, I haven't had any violent attacks in the last 8 years, thankfully.
Yeah.
So that's a big, big, big relief. I sometimes have night terrors, sorry, nightmares, but not my night terrors. So that's calmed down as well. So compared to the 1980s, 1990s, and really 2010s and 20 up until now, today I'm much in a much better place. But it has been tough. I wouldn't, for one moment, say it's been easy. I would
Yeah.
say that having a very strong, supportive network of friends, my partner and other close friends, family, backing me up, that's helped a lot as well. That's given me a strength and solace. So, I always know and have in the past shared with them what I've been through, and that has made it easier. As the um, old adage goes, a burden shared is burden halved.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just incredible that you're attacked so many times. I was thinking that today, that what drives Peter and your beliefs, you're so passionate about your beliefs, that's a coping mechanism in itself, isn't it? That's drove you to get through the ongoing trauma, and like you say, the idea that other activists are suffering worse. Um, I'm quite shocked that a human being could be attacked so many times and experience so much trauma.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to I've had cuts and bruises, abrasions, but no really serious injuries. Apart, of course, from the beating unconscious by President Mugabe's bodyguards in
I
Brussels,
remember that.
2001,
Yeah, I
which
remember that.
left me for a week paralyzed down the left side of my body,
Did it?
and caused some cognition and eye problems. And then, of course, there was another very serious attack in Moscow in 2007 when I was beaten up, very badly beaten up, and almost lost consciousness at the hands of neo-Nazi groups there. And that has compounded the cognition and vision problems. So I do struggle a bit with my memory, concentration, balance, and coordination. But clearly, it doesn't stop me. I just have this sort of the Fred Astaire's attitude, pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and start all over again.
Was you not frightened when I know, not to compare my experience, but if I was attacked like that, then the next time I was involved in a protest, or I'd be scared. Like I'd have to be assaulted that viciously. I think like I'd be scared to go out. I'd be scared to leave the house probably. And was there an element of that happen to you, or was it just?
Oh, oh yeah, yeah. I was often afraid to go out, but I just said that you got to carry on. You can't live
Yeah,
your life, hiding away. So I just suppressed my fears, and I'd go out, but I'd always look around me, look behind me, to the side, to see the other people around me, their demeanor, their attitude, and so, because I was alert like that, often I spotted attacks just before they're about to happen. So I was able to take, to some extent, protective and evasive action by putting up my arm to stop a blow, or sometimes to jump on a bus to escape, or jump out of a tube train just as the doors were closing and escape my attackers. But I've been attacked not just on protests, but more often outside my home, in the street, going to the local shops, outside local supermarket, on train stations, on buses. There was even an attempt by National Front members in the 80s to throw me off a speeding intercity train. They
Wow.
tried to force open the door and throw me out of the train, which, would have been, well, if I wasn't killed, I would have been very seriously injured.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just horrific.
But,
Uh,
being alert and being on my toes has probably spared me some of the worst injuries.
yeah. Yeah. And I know you're a busy man, Peter, so I won't, I'll end it with a question that what advice would you give to anyone who's watching who's struggling with mental health?
Well, I think it's very important to see a professional, to get professional advice, and to follow that advice because mostly it is very helpful and effective. To seek ongoing regular counseling because, sharing your experience with someone else, particularly someone who is a professional counselor, can also be a help. And like I did, sharing it with friends and family,
Yeah.
talking through what you've been through because there is something about sharing the experience, telling someone else about what's happened that sort of, in my experience, does help. It sort of, it's quite cathartic.
Yeah.
It may not work for everyone. Everybody's different, but I
Yeah.
found it really helpful.
Yeah.
And of course, then put things in perspective. And I don't want to diminish anybody's post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't want to diminish anyone's mental ill health, but try and also look at others who are perhaps even worse off. And that doesn't mean that you're not suffering, but it just might help you psychologically and emotionally deal with your own suffering better.
Yeah, and just like a question off the back of that, and I'll let you go, Peter. But um, I'm really into the phrase, and my therapist first mentioned this to me: post-traumatic growth, where you can actually grow out of trauma, and it takes a long time, and it has done for me. But I've developed new skills, new friends have come into my life, and but listening to your story, do you think what you've experienced has made you stronger along the
I,
line?
I think actually, in retrospect, yes. I mean, I would never wish what happened to me on me.
Yeah,
I wish it never happened, but I do think it's made me more resilient and better able to cope with not just the violence and threats. I mean, I still get a lot of death threats and hate mail, but yeah, it's made me able to cope with that better. And I think I'm now, emotionally, mentally much stronger, and my health has, compared to like 20 or 30 years ago, has considerably improved
yeah,
because of that strategy that I've used. I wouldn't say it's perfect now because, on social media, it is very, very tough for everyone. But for a high profile campaigner like myself, when I take on lots of sometimes controversial and difficult causes, it does attract a lot of trolls, a lot of hostile,
yeah,
negative.
yeah.
I have
Yeah.
threats to kill me, castrate me, rape me, burn down my house, kill my partner, you name it. And I know that most of them are just venting and shouting off, but there's always a fear that one unhinged individual might actually try something. So yeah, that is a nagging sort of fear in the back of my mind. And I still do take precautions to try and safeguard where I am and who's around me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I best let you go. I've got so many. I could keep you all night talking to you now. I think you're a legend. But thank you so much, Peter. I'll stop recording now.
Thank you.